Welcome to the OAPN podcast with your host, Adarsh Sakare. No bullshit, no cuts. 100% raw conversations with 0% fucks to give. We don't encourage the consumption of alcohol, but if you want to open up a cold one while you watch this, it's not a bad idea.
Welcome to episode number 47 of On a Personal Note with Adarsh Sakare. It's been a pretty good ride. The last episode we had Akshat Gupta, one of the first author/writer, and in his words, a full-time house husband. So it was nice to sit down with him, and it was one of the longest episodes we recorded. In fact, it's the only episode where we had to release it in two parts. So it was nice to have him here. Today's again extremely unique episode, one of the firsts from this field, at least on our podcast. I'll definitely speak more about him, but first let's say hi to Navneeth, Krishna.
Thanks a lot, Adarsh, for having me. This was long due. This should have happened a while ago. But
you would have been 43 maybe.
But I'm 47.
You're 47.
Yeah. So, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks a ton.
Yeah. So I think the most easiest tag to give Navneeth is the 12th man of RCB. I'm sure you take pride in that tag.
100%.
Yeah. So
to be the voice of the best fans in the world, it feels quite nice.
Yeah. So the 12th man of RCB, a commentator, a sports broadcaster, an anchor. But I think more than anything else, like I've really not been a big believer of the tags, because I feel like everyone has a lot more to explore than where they are at currently. What I've liked is just sticking, or rather having this transformation from what you were doing to what you love doing, and trying to make your life all about what you love doing, right? And with everyone that we try to get on here, I think that's been pretty much our go-to. Like, who are the folks who are doing something they love 24/7, not just in their personal life, but also in their professional life. So that way, I feel like Navneeth's had amazing opportunities to not just getting into the sports broadcasting field, but meeting the type of people he's met. And I have no idea, how many amazing conversations you must have had by now. I think that would have enriched you as well. So looking at all that, it really, we are excited to have him here. And I forgot the line that I gave you. So your show is called Host the Host, right?
I did something during the lockdown.
So I was just telling Aditya, today I'm hosting the host of Host the Host. That's how.
That was just a fun little thing that I did during the lockdown. People had a lot of time on their hands, and I figured no harm in having some interesting conversations with people who do similar stuff to what I do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was essentially hosting hosts.
Yeah. So I'm hosting the host of Host the Host, right? So it's nice. It's nice to hear. But anyway, welcome to this episode. Let's see. If you know Navneeth, if you know him well, great. Here's another opportunity to hear his thoughts. If you've seen Navneeth on television, and if you've wondered how the hell did he get here, here's your chance to kind of figure that out. So that being said, Navneeth, welcome to the episode. Nice to have you here.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah. So what's going on? How's life treating you?
Well, the quick, honest answer to that is I like where it is right now.
Yeah?
Yeah. I can't complain. I'm grateful for what's come my way and excited about what's in store. But I think it is hard doing what you love doing. There's a lot more than what meets the eye and what you see on an Instagram profile. I think it's very hunky-dory and nice and rosy there. But it's a lot harder with what goes on in the background. But in a nutshell, to answer your question, I'm in a happy space where I am right now. Yeah.
I jump between questions, so please don't mind that.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I have no certain structure that I'll be taking you in.
Happy for this to go the way it has to go, really. Yeah.
So you worked in Google for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So when I was looking through your profile, I saw like you gave a TED talk, and I got the feeling that maybe the TED talk has a lot of your story.
Yeah.
And intentionally, I didn't go to listen to it.
Right.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Right. But because you mentioned you spent 10 years at Google,
Yeah.
and there's this assumption that Google pays well.
Yeah.
You think you're making more than what Google would have paid you at this point of your life?
No.
No?
At, at the moment, I'm not making as much as I would.
You would have got Google to pay you?
Yeah, of course. I was getting. You get paid well in Google.
Anyway,
yeah. And while I say that, the beauty about what I do right now is there is no ceiling, right? I create opportunities for myself, and there's no ceiling to how much I could earn in this space.
In this space.
But when you're in a salaried job, there is a
ceiling.
ceiling to how much your salary is.
Yeah.
Needless to say, that continues to grow over time. You get promoted, your salary increases, blah, blah, blah. The normal corporate drill. But there is a ceiling.
Yeah.
Now, a classic example is, this is just, I'm sure freelancers will relate, but what I earned in 2020,
Okay.
2021 to what I earned in 2022 was 2x. But you won't have a 2x jump in the corporate ladder from a salary perspective 1 year later, right?
Yeah.
So it's about what you do, because your time is yours, the effort is yours, and likewise the money that you could potentially earn is left up to you as well.
Left up to you.
So, but to answer your question, I was getting paid a lot more at
A lot
Google.
more at Google, no? Oh, that's crazy. I mean, that was just one of the questions that popped into my head. But anyway, let's kind of draw this back a little. So it's clear that you have this ability to speak and connect with people. Where did that kind of start off for you? Where did you go to school, by the way?
Born and brought up in Bangalore, completely Bangalore bred. I did my schooling in Baldwin Boys High School.
Okay.
I did my PUC at Jain College in Vivipuram. And then I then moved to Joseph's for my degree.
You went to Commerce College?
Commerce College.
Oh,
yes.
brother.
From one Josephite to another,
Nice.
you know the feeling. But
I didn't know this.
yeah,
Nice
yeah.
to know.
I went to SJCC, and campus recruitment happened there. It was the only
Google
company
came to SJCC that time?
back in the time. This was 2008, right?
Wow, okay.
And I think it was maybe 2 to 3 years after that they continued, or 4 years maybe, and then they stopped campus recruitments.
Yeah.
But that was the
Which
only
year was
job
this,
I
Navneeth?
applied,
Which
and
year
that
was
was the
this?
only one. 2008.
2008, you
Is-
finished your
2008,
degree.
I finished my degree, and 2008, I joined Google.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So 10 years. Okay. So I was asking you, right? Where did that sense of, what do you say? Okay, I can speak, I can connect with people begin?
Yeah.
In Baldwin's?
No, not at all. Not in Baldwin's, not in Jane, and from what I can remember, not even in Joseph's, you know.
Are you serious?
Yeah, to be honest. Dude, there was a time in Joseph's when we would do these fests, obviously, college fests.
Yeah.
One of these marketing fests, it was a team of 3. We had to present a product, you know the drill.
Yeah.
And I so vividly remember telling my friend, listen, I cannot talk, you do all the talking, and I was in the back seat.
Yeah.
And I remember that so well. To only realize a few years down the line that talking is what I do for a living, right? So it's funny how things change. But I think it really turned around in Google, dude. Like, it's the beauty of the environment that you work in. It's so true when they say that a lot of who you are is based on who you spend time with and who you hang out with. You tend to hang out with really smart, intelligent, what can I say?
Aware.
Exposed, aware. People who you can connect with at Google. It just works out that way. That's just the kind of vibe that you get. And I started to maybe understand different areas of what I could potentially do. Right? So it started to make me a lot more confident.
Okay.
When I started to sort of grow within the system. And then when opportunities came along, I was happy to take them. And it was one random award function at Google that someone else had to host, but eventually came to me, and I said, okay, I'll do it.
But
Okay?
why did it come to you?
Because I was happy to, I was okay to say I'll give it a shot.
You wanted
It
to
was
give it a
also
shot.
because of maybe just who I grew into, because this was about 3 to 4 years into my Google stint.
So
And-
there's also this level of confidence,
Yes,
that
it's-
newfound confidence that's coming.
It's a lot of that. It's a lot of that, and Google gave me that, I'll be honest. And I say it even in that talk that I did as well, that the Navneeth that walked into Google to the Navneeth that walked out of Google are two very different people. Very different people, and I think I owe Google a lot for that. I continue to owe Google a lot.
What was it? Was it insecurities? I mean, that you had to beat to...
Honestly, nothing like that. You just start to realize that there are no inhibitions, right? You're happy to go after what you really want to, and I've always been that. I'm happy to challenge status quo and try something different, right? So, and because cricket was always close to me, even though I did not as a, you know, give myself too much of a chance back in the day speaking to an audience, I was always fascinated what the commentator or the anchor was saying when I was watching a cricket match. And, you know, cricket being cricket in this part of the world was very close to me right from my childhood. I grew up playing cricket. I played for school, college, blah, blah, all of that, right? So, and I would be fascinated by like what Ravi Shastri would say or a Harsha Bogle would say. And I'm constantly, I have 1 year listening to them.
You don't know why, but there's
But it
that
just happened,
fascination.
right?
It's
Exactly,
there. That
exactly.
fascination of them speaking
Yeah,
and...
there's one thing that attracts
It's
you
there.
more than the other, right? This was that.
This was that.
And so then I started to realize that I just became this more confident person. And I knew that I had a liking towards cricket commentary and stuff like that. But this is not cricket commentary. They wanted me to host an award function. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And Google being Google, it was called the Fun Do Manager Awards. Essentially, it's awards that you give away to managers and you make fun of them. Like these are fun awards. Like which manager is always on his phone, or which manager is always late to a meeting.
Sleeping in a meeting, etc.
Those kind of awards, right?
Oh, that's
As it
nice.
turned out, it was a ball. We had a great time hosting it. It's funny that I bring it back to cricket, but I remember that day so well only because it was the same day when Sachin Tendulkar scored a double century in ODI cricket against South Africa. He was the first ever person to ever score a double century in ODI cricket, right? So sometimes the landmarks I remember like that. It was that day.
Nice.
And the feedback was insane. That led to me doing another conference. And then I started to do serious fireside conversations to a Google football league or a cricket league or a basketball league. I would suddenly hold the mic and start commentating. And then people are like, listen, dude, you need to think of this a little more seriously. We understand you doing this for fun after work. You come down and you commentate for the league. But think of this a little more seriously because there's something brewing here, right? And that's when I started to realize that, dude, holding the mic, talking to an audience actually gives me a high.
Yeah.
And that high was eventually what I can now call my career.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
So while at Google, when you were figuring all this out, right? Like, okay, like there's something brewing here. Now that's nice. You have your friends and your colleagues telling you, okay, man, I think you're more than what you are right now. And I feel like you need to explore this. And you might have had many nights where you're asking that question to yourself. Is there something more? Or am I like delusional right now? So then where did that shift happen? Saying, no, I'm not delusional. I think this is something... Was it saturation at Google that led you to do the step? Or was it a proactive effort saying, I'm going to chase this?
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think it was not saturation at Google.
Okay.
I had nothing to complain at Google, I'll be honest. I could have continued. Many people did ask me, you must be stupid to be leaving the company. It just so happened that there was a reorg within the company and I had to find a different role. But it had nothing to do with me being burnt out or saturated. I was more than happy to live the Google life, by the way. Not many complain about the Google life. Okay. It isn't the best representation of the corporate world because there's a reason why they are the best employers. I would happily work at Google. That's just who Google is. But, and it wasn't delusional thinking. I think I'm a reasonable judge of who I am and what I bring to the table. And when I see a commentator or an anchor on TV, and when I think of what I'm capable of, I started to realize that I can do what that person's doing on TV.
And maybe even better.
Maybe even better. So, and feedback from people around me was, if anything, an add-on, right? It just was further reinforcement.
Reinforcing your thoughts.
Yes. And deep down inside, it was confidence that I had in my skills and my abilities. And number two, it was my wife's backing who said, we won't get too many chances to go and do what we want to. Not many even know what they want to. You're one of the few who has that kind of clarity. Go and give it a shot. And so I knew I had her backing in many ways, emotionally, financially, and in several other ways. And so it was that gave me the confidence, and she pushed me to eventually take that call of quitting Google. And it was also the confidence that I had in my ability. We'll figure it out. It goes back to that point about me building that confidence in those 10 years at Google. Like I said, right? The fact that I was able to sort of grow within the system and do well for myself made me realize that, you know what, I'm happy to take on maybe bigger challenges, in the world outside, which isn't maybe a world as pampered as a Google world. As in, this is my perspective. Different people may have different things to say. And so that's how I viewed it, right? So it was a bunch of these things that came together that eventually led us to taking that call of quitting Google. I keep saying getting married is a big decision in life, but in our lives, in Deepti's life and my life, I think me quitting Google was our biggest decision till date, literally. Yeah, it's not easy when you're letting go of something that big, because it's a good company, you're doing well for yourself, you're getting good money. Why would you ruffle the feathers, right? Like, why try to break something that isn't broken? You would want to continue with life the way it is, right? So, yeah, and that's where it all started.
That shift, now that you mentioned where the confidence came from, so all the opportunities you had was inside Google, in terms of speaking to people. Had you started getting opportunities outside?
No, nothing at all.
When you left Google?
When I left Google, after I started to leave Google.
Yeah, so when in that end phase, what was the first time you got paid for a speaking opportunity outside of Google?
It's funny you said it. After I quit Google, the first company that paid me something was Google. Because it was, about a month later, Google were hosting their annual holiday party in Hyderabad, and I flew back, and this time as an outsider, I'm emceeing a Google party, which I left like a month ago. And so that was my first paycheck. Brilliant, right after Google.
What a story.
Was Google.
What a story, no?
Yeah.
Then where did the other opportunities start coming from?
This is where reality kicks in.
Yeah.
When life tells you that, listen, the world outside isn't as rosy as the Google world. So that was December when I hosted that Google party, and then New Year's was done. This was end of 2017, and starting 2018, the IPL as always starts in April. I spent Jan, Feb, March in Singapore, because we sort of moved to Singapore because my wife is based out of Google in Singapore. So I keep shuttling between Bangalore and Singapore, and wherever work takes me. So it was around the time when my wife moved from Google India to Google Singapore as well. She's also a Googler, by the way. She continues to be a Googler. She's been there for 15 years now. And so when I quit Google, she moved from Google Hyderabad to Google Singapore. And so I spent about Jan and Feb sort of helping her set up shop, and, we moving to a new country. And so we were just getting used to things. I was just getting a sense of the people around. I was starting to just make conversations happen. And nothing worked out. There was no call that came, because I'm the one doing the reaching out.
Who are you calling about?
I'm trying to reach out to the production houses. I'm trying to reach out to the Star Sports and the Sonys of the world, and potentially thinking...
What are you telling them? Why should they listen to you?
Exactly. Yeah. Why will they listen to me? Right? I built credibility and goodwill for myself in Google, so when I reach out to someone, they will respond to me in Google, right? And it's also just the culture of the company.
Yeah.
But outside, when I'm asking someone for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I'm not used to someone cutting my call or not responding to my pings, because in Google, the culture is very different. And that was baptism by fire. I'm not kidding, right? Because that was me thrown into the deep end, getting a harsh reality check that, listen, Navneeth, I'm going to wake you up a little bit and just sort of shake you up because this is the real world.
This isn't Google.
This is in Google, right? So I'm reaching out to people. I don't get responses. If I do, it's a cold response at best. I call people, they don't call back, right? So
And you're telling them what? I speak
I'm,
well?
yeah, as in I can do this. But then, can you show me your work? What work did I have? I had nothing. When I quit Google as a manager, I left with zero contacts, zero experience, absolutely no idea what the broadcasting world had in store, right? All I knew was I can do this. That's all it was. And so I wasn't going too far. And the IPL was about to start. It was, I think, quite literally a week before the IPL starts. And, you know, when I'm working out and when I'm walking and I'm doing my stuff, that's when I'm in the zone. I'm deep in thought about thinking about what I need to be doing. And so one of those thoughts was, what if I just start putting myself out there? Maybe that's one way of me telling people that this is what I can do, right? So then I thought of Instagram videos were 59 seconds long back in the day. Yeah. Now you can upload longer videos. So my wife came back from office. I was at home in Singapore. And literally a week later, the IPL starting. And I tell her, I just want to do something. I want to start making videos. So I gave it a name called Quick Single.
Quick Single.
It's a cricket terminology where I sum up a match in a single minute. And I gave it a cricket sort of term to it. My friend helped me out with that. And
this is lovely.
So next thing I know, I call up a good friend of mine in Bangalore, Vineet Vincent, who a lot of people in Bangalore obviously know, very familiar in the Bangalore circuit. Vineet being Vineet, one of the most helpful people. He's played a big role in helping me grow. And he's like, brother, just come over. Very similar to you, by the way. He has a studio set up in his house where we record videos. He does music there, records his music and stuff. And so within no time, he said, you come over, we'll get an editor, we'll get a videographer, do your videos here. You don't need to pay me anything. You don't need to do anything. Do what you want to do. And that was just the start. And so I took a flight the next day and I came to Bangalore.
From Singapore?
From Singapore. Spent the next 2-3 days meeting my videographer, the editor, getting a logo in place, getting everything else in place, figuring out how the frame, the setup should be. IPL started. We took off every single day. I will come from my house to Vineet's studio to just record 59 seconds, and that would go up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And that's all it was. 60 videos on 60 match days. I did that without missing one single day. Right? And that was that. And next thing was a little school tournament called the Ace Cricket Challenge.
Hold on. What was the response on that?
Response was almost close to nothing. I would get, say, 300 to 500 views per video. And you know what? I wasn't too worried about what the response was. I genuinely wasn't. It gave me a sort of a portfolio that I could go and show someone. I knew I'm capable of doing something. I wasn't too worried that the response wasn't there. In total, I would combine all platforms together and it'll be like a few thousand videos if I combine everything views per video. Right? So it wasn't much. As in, I would get the odd views, but it wasn't anything alarming as such. My bloopers video got more views than any of the videos through the entire season. As always, dude, you know the drill. Right? So
some fuck all video will get
exactly, right?
1 million views.
So those random videos got so many more views. But I wasn't disheartened. I was just so focused in the drill of doing what I was doing. It was also because of my first time talking to the camera day in and day out, just getting used to editing, videography, shooting and whatnot, and the drill, right? Just the nitty-gritties of...
Would you credit Vineet for that process? Yeah.
Big time. Vineet continues to play a big role. We're very close friends and truth be told, I think there are very few people in this world today that are as giving as him. And he's one of those people who doesn't look at too much in terms of what comes in return to him. Okay. He's always willing to give. And he's played a big role in my life, right? So as always wish him well. And he played a big role at that time. And that's when it started with Quick Single.
Quick Single. And then you were, so you were saying after that came a tournament.
After that, it just so happened that there was this school tournament, a very fancy school tournament that had a big budget because of the international schools that were playing and stuff. And they were looking for a sort of a anchor and commentator for that, right? On ground.
Yeah.
Where I would do the toss and the post match, and in between I would commentate when the game's going on and stuff like that. And so they saw my videos, my YouTube videos, because I sent that link to them, and they're like, yeah, come over, you do it. It wasn't bad money, it was decent money.
How many days?
It was, I think, 15 days, 20 days.
And you had to be there every day?
Yeah, I had to be there every day. It was in Bangalore, in the grounds right outside, in the outskirts. So I would go there, I did that. And it was wonderful. I met Charu Sharma there in the closing ceremony. He was part of the I think he was the chief guest that day. And in general, I just started to put myself out there. More and more people started to hear me out, right?
Yeah.
And it's cricket. And dude, I didn't have anything to do. So there was an opportunity that came my way. My question was, why shouldn't I be doing it, right?
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to do it. So I did it. And the same organizers also do the logistics for the Karnataka Premier League, which was happening a month later. And they're like, Navneeth, you're doing this. We need you to do exactly that. Come over. Next thing I know, it's the Karnataka Premier League and I'm a ground announcer in the Chinnaswamy and in Mysore. So you realize how this snowballs into something, right? It's funny when Steve Jobs said it. It's so true, but you can only connect the dots backwards.
Yeah. Never going forward.
Yeah. So when you're in that moment, you keep wondering what is happening, how is this all tying up? You don't have answers to a lot of questions that are there in your mind.
How am I going to figure it out?
Yeah. Is this even what I'm doing right now? Is this even on track in terms of where I want to be and where I should be getting to? So those are the questions you keep asking.
There's no reference point also.
Yeah, exactly, right? I didn't know that Quick Single will play a role in me getting Ace. Ace will play a role in me getting Karnataka Premier League. And then Karnataka Premier League eventually getting me my first big opportunity at the time was the Everest Premier League as a commentator. It was my dream to be in the commentary box. And it was one of those days, man. Like after the Karnataka Premier League, I came back to Singapore. I was like, yeah, now things are rolling. I'm going to get maybe a call from here, a call from there. We'll see where this goes. 1 month goes by. 2 months go by. 3 months go by. No call. It's just funny how things work. And I'll be lying because it was one of those days when I opened the Google Careers website and I looked at roles that were there. I'm not lying. I looked at the Google roles that are available.
You're considering again.
Yeah, of course. I'm like, where is this going? I'm just staring into nothing when I'm sitting all day. My wife's at work. I'm just sitting there. What is happening? And this is about a year, less than a year after me quitting Google. But it's funny, but when we stay patient through those tough days is when we get to see light at the end of the tunnel.
Then life pays back.
Man, it was one of those days. She left to work. A friend of mine who I connected with, like Vineet, very helpful friend of mine in Singapore, who again is in some sense associated with the industry, with the media space. He has a production house that he runs in Singapore. And he just said, I got a ping nav from the guy who runs the league, who's the CEO of the league in Nepal, and they have a league called the Everest Premier League, which is their version of the Indian Premier League. And they're looking for commentators and anchors. So I'm giving your name. Just thought I'd let you know in case he reaches out to you. I'm like, wonderful. And this was at 9 a.m. My wife's Deepti's left to work. Already she has no context to any of this. Next thing I know, 10 o'clock he calls me up. And I have a conversation with him. And the crux of that conversation was, Navneeth, are you available for these dates? I don't have anything to do. In my mind, I'm like, of course I'm available for these dates, right? But on the phone, I'm like, yeah, I'm available for these dates, right?
Should be fine.
The co-commentators, Parvez Maroof, the international cricketer from Sri Lanka, Andrew Leonard from Ireland, Francis Mackay from New Zealand. I'm suddenly, and like, yeah, we'd like to have you as part of that commentary panel. And I cut that call, and he's like, can you just share what you've done so far? And so now I did have something to share. I could
Yeah.
share quick single, I could share what I did at the school tournament, and then eventually at the Karnataka Premier League. And then he called me back saying, yeah, we'd like to go ahead with this.
Paid gig, huh?
Of course, paid gig.
Paid gig.
That was at like say 1 p.m.
Hmm.
By 2:30, I had my tickets booked to Kathmandu. And my wife came back at
In
5
how
p.m.
many days did you have to leave?
I had to leave in about a week or two or so. So at 5 p.m. my
Beautiful.
wife comes back.
Life has changed at home.
And she's like, listen, from morning till evening, what just happened? And all these developments. Because it's also an industry where things don't move this quickly. You probably know.
Yeah, things take time.
Like someone calls you,
Yeah.
they'll call you back maybe a week later, 10 days later. And
Yeah.
then if the tournament's starting 5 days later, they call you 2 days later,
2 days.
2 days before that saying, hey, we'd like to have you immediately.
Can you come in tomorrow morning?
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So that's what this industry is. And so in that sense, comparatively, all of these developments happening in a span of 4 hours was out of the blue. And the next thing I know, those questions that I was asking myself when I was sitting in that empty house staring into nothing, asking, why is this happening to me? And when this call came, everything's done. I'm asking myself, why did this happen to me now? It's funny. But the answers to those why questions are so different now, 8 hours later.
Yeah.
But that's just the way life is.
Yeah.
You sometimes just have to stay
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I fly back to India, I get ready, I take my flight to Kathmandu. 2 days later, I'm on live television, national television. My wife's sitting in Singapore. She's watching me on national television. And it is moments like these that we live for. We
Yeah.
let go of a lot for
that-
days like
for
these.
that particular
And she's
moment.
sitting and she's tearing up watching me on television in Singapore. And I'm in Nepal knowing
That
how
she's-
she's going to be feeling watching me. And so those are special moments. And then that tournament was breathtaking. Like, it was my first experience in the Combox, sitting alongside all of them and just expressing myself. This is the good life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like work when you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So that
You're
was my
just living.
first big exposure. And it was a special experience.
I think, like you said, right, I think one takeaway is like, it's like you said, those moments when you don't really know how to get ahead.
Yeah.
Or you don't know if it's the right thing or not.
Correct.
It's just probably worth waiting. If it's something you want to do for the rest of your
Absolutely.
life, it's just probably worth waiting because you anyway have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times what we assume is we are running out of time. And
yeah.
if I don't figure it out, I might be the last one in the race.
Yeah.
You just have to wait it out sometimes.
I'm going to say a couple of pointers in this regard.
Mm.
You wait through the tough days. You wait through the quiet days. But the only thing that's in our hand is to do something that helps us snowball our portfolio should we go to someone tomorrow. What I mean by that is, what if I didn't do quick single during the IPL? Then the school tournament would not have happened. KPL would not have happened. Nepal would not have happened. So when I connect the dots backwards, I'm very grateful that I hit that launch button on my YouTube channel just like you did a few years ago, my friend.
Yeah.
Well done on that.
Thank you.
But I did that, and I was so apprehensive that evening when I was even hitting that submit button, that upload button. I'm telling Deepthi, I don't want to do it. I don't want to, because it's my first time I'm putting myself out to the public, and this was 2017 or 2018, right? And well, the social media world is growing at an exponential rate that even in these last 5 years, things have just like catapulted
Yeah.
to something else that almost every other person does it now. But it wasn't like that even in 2018, early
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
And so, but I did it, and that's what led for me to get one to the other to the other.
Yeah.
But on those days when I went to the Google Careers website, when I was staring into nothing, I wasn't doing anything that time. I was idle. And so I have only myself to blame because I wasn't working on building something for myself, something that I could take to someone. People see value in what you've created,
Yeah.
right? I didn't do anything in those quiet days. And that's why my mind was fucking with me.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I don't think you can blame yourself for that.
Of course not. It's
can't.
it's true
You're
when they say
human.
that an empty
Yeah.
playground is an empty mind is a devil's playground. It is so true because
Yeah.
you're constantly thinking negatively.
Yeah.
You're being more of a pessimist than an optimist. And in general, I'm a person who looks at the glass half full and not half empty, but there are days when you are going to see it as half empty.
Half empty, yeah.
Right? So I think the learning, as I speak, it's still a learning for me because I'm still trying to get better at it. And to everyone listening and watching as well, is sometimes we need to realize that the ball is in our court. In fact, more often than not, it's in our court. And it depends on how we
Nice.
play the ball, right?
Nice.
Whether
I like that.
it's a proper forehand down the line or it's a backhand winner, whatever it is, the ball's in our court. And
Yeah.
what we make with our time, I think in many ways gives us something back in return.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how this works.
So I think two things I want to call out here, right? So one, you mentioned, so on those days when you were doing nothing and maybe drowning in this negativity, I want to call out that that's not avoidable.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
not avoidable.
It's only human to
There are
feel
going to
that
be
way.
phases
100%.
when, yes, the ball is in your court, but
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to do anything about it because there is this huge cloud of thoughts surrounding you.
Yeah.
But another point is, like you said, so sometimes, now say you want to be this sports commentator on Star Sports, but then how is this international school league going
Yeah.
to help me get there?
Yeah, of course.
Now, it's extremely easy for you to have stood there and say, this isn't going to get me there.
Yeah.
There's no chance in hell me sitting here with these international schools. Who on earth is going to connect me from here to Star Sports? But I think it's very important to call out that even if the step you're taking has the least connectivity with your bigger goal, just take it because that's probably the only step you have at this point.
200%. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Because you don't have anything
it's
else.
as
Yeah.
long as it's a step in the right direction,
Yeah, just do
take it.
Just take it.
Doesn't matter.
And no matter how small.
Absolutely.
No matter how small, just do it because, I mean, it's not just your story, right? If we
It's
look
small, like, yeah, it's small when you think of it in comparison to where you eventually want to
yeah,
be.
but it's huge.
But I'm not there yet, right? How do I compare
Yeah.
my race versus someone else's race, right?
Yeah, yeah.
My first step to someone else's 100th step, then
Yeah.
I'm setting up myself for failure,
Yeah.
right? So it didn't feel like that was a small opportunity at that time. But you know what? I was excited, man. I was just happy. Talking
Yeah.
cricket, I just love doing
That's
it.
what you
I'm
want to
happy.
do anyway.
Yeah, I'm just happy to do it.
Irrespective of what capacity.
Exactly.
You're
When the
doing it in.
Karnataka Premier League, you're just entertaining the crowd in Mysore. There are about 10,000 fans there jumping, and you're sort of playing a role in them, cheering. It gives you a high, right? So I was really passionate. So I didn't think of whether it was a small or a big opportunity at the time.
What is your mother tongue?
Telugu?
Telugu.
Yeah.
So, how did, when, I still remember when the 12th man concept was launched.
Yeah.
And I remember them running this campaign where someone from the audience plays a competition and they get to be part of the team, come there, sit near the dugout. It was branded like this only, like a
Okay.
12th man thing where you get to travel with the team, or you win this competition and you get tickets, or you sit near the dugout. There was something they ran for the audience.
I'm not able to remember. I get what you're trying to say. I don't think it was
a
to be
campaign.
with traveling with the team. It could have been tickets. It could have been something like that.
But it had so when the branding of 12th man of RCB started, were you the first one to get that tag?
So, like it's funny. I tell you, right? Like it just ties back to what you just mentioned about if you have an opportunity to take a little step in the direction where you want to be headed and you've taken that step, it's funny, the universe has its own way of giving you what you deserve. And it has its ways of conspiring to give you what you want, because then when you actually do get those opportunities, you look back and you're like, wow, how did this happen? How did I end up being in the right place at the right time, right? And this was what happened at RCB as well. And I come back from Karnataka Premier League. I come back from Nepal, and next thing I know, it's the same feeling. I'm going to get calls. But then Jan goes by, Feb goes by,
Here we go
March
again.
goes by. It's back to square one, right? Like, where's that
Navneeth
next
every
call
day
gonna
at
come?
9 a.m. like
Yeah.
nobody's reaching out.
Nobody's
Nobody's
calling. What
reaching
am I
out.
doing? Am I doing anything? Sort of a thing, right? But what I also did was, my friend works at Diageo, which is the company
Yeah.
that owns RCB.
Owns, yeah.
And I said, I'm going to share my profile with you. For what it's worth, can you share it with the RCB team? And we'll see if something does work out. And so she did that. And it stayed quiet for a while. After I shared my profile, I didn't hear anything. I was in the US with my wife because of a work trip that she had. I accompanied her. And then next thing I know, I get a call saying, listen, we're launching a new platform called the RCB 12th Man TV, a new property. It's sort of similar to the lines of Arsenal TV or MUTV, on the lines of Fan TV in Premier League football, right? So we're sort of bringing that concept to the IPL, and we want to try it out with RCB. And it's really a property for the fans, by the fans, and that kind of thing. So we're looking for a host, someone who has done digital content before, someone who knows cricket, preferably someone from Bangalore, so by virtue of that becomes an RCB fan by default. And quick single, I had done digital video, so I tick that box. I'm from Bangalore, so I tick that box. I speak cricket because of
You
what
tick
I'd
that
done,
box.
so I tick that box. The next thing I know, they said, okay, come on board and you be the host of RCB 12th Man TV, and this was 2019. And I was like, this doesn't seem real. No, like, dude, what am I doing sitting next to Gary Kirsten as my first ever interview chat on RCB 12th Man TV, the coach of the Royal Challengers Bangalore? It's like, wow, this is insane. And the next thing I know, I'm traveling with the team, I'm staying in the hotel, and it just felt very surreal. And I'm the voice of the RCB fans. Like, a month ago, I didn't have anything on my plate.
Yeah.
And a month later, I'm just so busy traveling the length and breadth of the country with the Royal Challengers, being the voice of the RCB fans.
That's
And
crazy.
That is just beautiful.
So, so the reason I asked you about your mother tongue was, so how's your fluency in Kannada? Is that
I
something?
can speak some Kannada.
But has that come in the way of your RCB journey?
No, not really.
Yeah?
No. As in, if the franchise primarily want their content to be in English.
Yeah?
That's
So
what
that
we-
was
yeah.
spoken about upfront?
Yeah, of course. I can speak Kannada. I wouldn't say I'm the most fluent in
Yeah.
it, but I can absolutely speak
So
Kannada.
in terms of the content, it was always clear that you're expected to speak in English
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
And when you started working with all these bigger names and brands,
Yeah.
how did was there negotiation from your side in terms of what you get paid? What's the reference point to understand if I'm being paid right or not? Are
Man,
you being
like,
paid less? Are you
we're
being paid
always
more?
going to wonder whether we've mastered that game, dude. Like, you know it,
Yeah.
right? You'll never know whether you're
If you're-
underpaid, overpaid, adequately paid. You'll always keep wondering. Nobody's saying no to a little more money. Let me put it that way, right? Of course. In these 5 years, I've done opportunities for free.
Yeah.
I've done opportunities where I think I've been well paid. I've done opportunities where I think I've been underpaid.
Yeah.
But I just think it's part and parcel of
Just
the
the journey.
space that you live in. That's the industry. It is the creative, the entertainment space. I think every creator knows this.
Yeah.
That you'll have your gigs where you get well paid.
Yeah.
You know, in some cases you might want to
You
get a
might have
little more,
settled
but it is
for-
what it is.
yeah, lesser.
Sometimes it's also who you're working with. There's more than just the money. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's the case of the brand that you're associated with. Sometimes it's the case of the kind of gig that you are doing, the duration of the event, your involvement in the event. So there's a bunch of other factors that come into play. But just like anyone else, it's spread across the spectrum. Where I haven't been paid sometimes, I've been paid adequately at times, underpaid, overpaid, all of it.
So what's the type of access that Navneeth has with RCB?
I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know if it's a leading question to something else, dude. Because if that is a leading question, the answer is no.
No, there's no leading question. So, like, say there's an RCB match happening,
Yeah.
and Navneeth walks into the stadium.
Yeah.
Where all does Navneeth get to go to?
It depends, because the last 2-3 years I haven't been traveling with the team, one, and two, we
Okay.
haven't had matches in Chinnaswamy also
Okay.
because of the bubble, right? It's unfortunately the last 3 years have happened in a bubble, and it's happened either in one venue or it's happened outside of India in Dubai or stuff like that. So it hasn't been the normal years. Like in 2019 was when I did travel with the team when life was normal. I would have access to the stands to go have chats with the fans across and just be able to shoot our content anywhere and stuff like that. So I would have that access to just be able to interact with the RCB fans.
Did you have a chance to meet the players?
Yeah,
at any
yeah.
point?
Because I travel with the team, I have met the players. I have interviewed the players. We sit and we would have a meal together or whatever. But it's part and parcel of the job that I do.
When you interview these players, right? And I mean, it's
players,
part of
support staff, coaching staff.
Yeah. And who decides when you interview, when you sit with them? Do you have to approach them and tell them that, hey, listen,
No,
I
don't have
this.
to do it because it's part of the content that we as RCB put up, and RCB, I'd like to say, are heavily vested in social media content, and I'd like to say we're also one of the best at the game, right? So
I think RCB is one of the pioneers in the content. At least I feel like
there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and there's one individual who's the head of content at RCB who sort of plans everything out. The different properties that are there, 12th Man TV to RCB Insider with Danish doing Mr. Nags to RCB Bold Diaries to Bold is Fit and Match Day. So we have like 5 different properties, each catering to a very different need, talking about a very different thing, from humor to cricket to entertainment to fans. It sort of covers the entire spectrum. So they plan out that entire agenda and I fit into certain parts of that agenda. And part of that involves interviewing fans, interviewing coaches, interviewing players, interviewing support staff. So that's how this works.
Does what you do and Danish do overlap anywhere?
Not really, because he does Mr. Nags. Danish plays characters like nobody, which is why people absolutely love it.
So there's no overlap between
I
you
do
guys?
the more cricket stuff. Danish does all the entertainment and humor stuff.
And that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And do you all sit and plan out? Is there some work that you all sit together and...
Who, Danish and I?
Yeah.
Danish and I, it's been a while. The last time we did a video together was when 12th Man met Mr. Nags.
Mr. Nags.
That was in 2019. But after that, we just haven't done a video together. Maybe this year we'll do a video together. I don't know. But it's always fun working.
And currently, what's the association with RCB?
It's as it's always been.
Okay.
Yeah. This will hopefully be my 5th year with RCB.
So, I mean, they haven't spoken to you yet?
Yeah, we're already discussing things.
Okay.
We yet to just put pen to paper.
Okay.
Because the season's about to start. My previous contract just about gets over. Next contract starts. So it's sort of that.
Okay.
Great news for RCB fans because we're one of the 5 teams that got a team in the Women's Premier League as well. So it just further reinstates RCB's investment in the game in the country and just sort of bringing inclusivity and women into the game as well. So, yeah.
Lovely. So, a lot of what you've spoken also revolves around your wife.
Yeah.
Her name?
Deepthi.
Deepthi, right? So, you met her at Google.
Yeah.
What's the scene been like? Like, whenever you were speaking about... hey, I got these 3 months at home when I was figuring all this shit out. Like, what is it like? She's paying for everything. Are you feeling like, okay, why am I like...
Look, man.
Like, how's that been?
A big part of why I'm sitting where I am sitting is because of my wife.
Okay.
And I take a lot of pride when I do talk about her because she was the one who pushed me to take the step of quitting Google. We had no reasons to, but she said...
What did your family say?
Our families were maybe a bit surprised, but I think at the end of the day, they knew that there were 2 mature individuals taking this decision. So
figuring this out for themselves.
They sort of know what they're doing. They'll figure it out, right? So that was the reaction from both families. So from both of us earning decent money, it suddenly went to just one person earning money, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to do the financial planning.
Yeah.
Then she moved to a different country. It also meant me staying away from her for longer periods of time. So there were changes that were happening in multiple areas, right? From from the time we were spending to each other to figuring out the financial situation,
Mm.
all of this were part of the decision making process, part of stuff that she had to, I don't know if sacrifices, but there are sacrifices that she makes just so that I get to live this life. And she said, I will take care of the bills, I will pay. And so we even did our financial planning in a way where we accounted for zero money coming from me for many years, just so that you plan for worst case scenario, right?
Let's plan for the
So
worst case
whatever comes is a bonus, right? So we planned it in that sense when I did leave
Wow.
Google. And she said she will take care of everything.
Oof.
You go live that life. You go do whatever you want. I look back 5 years later, I have nothing but gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunities that have come my way, and gratitude for her to have let me live this life as well. Right? Because I owe a lot of this to her for all the backing that she did. And when the tough days are there, I sometimes have to vent it out.
Yeah.
And she's the one I'm talking to, and she's the
Yeah.
one who just constantly puts some sense into my mind, because you just need that every now and then, because in some sense you're on your own, because you're living this journey by yourself, right? Nobody's living that journey like you, with you, right? Whereas in a corporate world, there are 3 other teammates who are sort of doing something similar to what you're doing. So there are people who you can talk to. You have a manager who is either patting you on the back or giving you feedback or whatever.
Yeah.
Who's giving me feedback, telling me whether I'm doing a good thing or a bad thing,
There's no
or
reference
what I
point.
should be doing
There's
next.
never a reference point.
There's never a reference point. There's nobody guiding me, telling me, mentoring me on what next, right? So I was on my own. So I needed her help emotionally. I needed her help financially. I needed her help in so many ways, right? There she was. And just before I came for this podcast, before this mobile went on flight mode, it's her message that's saying, have a wonderful podcast, right? That's how closely, like, if I do get a gig, when that ICC call came, when the Star Sports call came, I was over the moon. But if there is ever a way of being even higher than that, she was feeling that. She is more excited every time a new opportunity or a development happens in my space than even I am. That's how much we both are living this journey together.
Wow.
In a very joking way, when we pass by the Chinnaswamy, when we're driving by, whenever we're in Bangalore, she'll be like, listen, your office is here or your office is here. Just in a very joking, you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
She'll just play along. It's like, your office is here, why are you not going inside? Why aren't you going inside? And so we would just play along, we would laugh along. 3 years later, it did turn out to be my office in some sense, because I was with RCB and Chinnaswamy is home to the RCB.
Wow.
And I was like, sometimes you just manifest some things, right? You visualize it in your mind, and when it comes into reality, it just turns out to be magical.
Yeah.
And we've had those moments. We really have. And just nothing, no amount of money, no amount of whatever you can compare it with comes close to you. Just when you bring some of those moments to life, wow, they are special.
So, like it's so fulfilling, everything that you keep speaking about, and it's extremely refreshing to listen to you. Do you also tend to compare yourself to others in your space? And I mean,
I'll
does
be
that happen
lying
to you?
if I say no. I'll be honest with you. I think that's part and parcel of the generation that we live in, this social media world that we live in, that we're exposed to everything on a day-to-day basis, that we get to know what people are up to. While the pros are there because my opportunities come via social media, the cons are there. It does have its impact mentally as well. Of course, I'm looking at what others are doing. It gives me a sense of what else is out there that I could potentially go after. But here's the thing. I'm not unhappy because that person got the opportunity.
Okay.
I have nothing against him or her.
Yeah.
I'm just maybe unhappy with myself as to why I am not looking at some of those opportunities.
Yeah.
So again, it's coming back to me. So in some sense, maybe I'm just being a little hard on myself.
Yeah.
Right? So, but
It does weigh you down?
yeah, I'd like to say yeah. But these are temporary emotions, temporary feelings and thoughts that come and go. And I think it's part and parcel of the world that we're living. I'd like to say I'm learning to deal with this a little better. Maybe I'm getting a little better at it, but nowhere close to where I'd like to be with it. But I think it's part and parcel of just the space that we're in right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest fears has always been Like, I know I'm capable of a lot more, and I know I'll take these actions. Like, the biggest thing is, am I running out of time?
Yeah.
You know, are people of my ability gonna get there sooner than me? And I think having that fear of, okay, maybe, I'm spending too much time in this phase. Does that come to you? Maybe I need to level up sooner than I am right now.
I need to level up thoughts.
Like, no,
100%
level
it
up,
comes
like,
up.
yeah,
But I need to level up because someone else will get there before. I'm not worried about that. I'm running my race.
Yeah.
I am not comparing myself to others in that sense because my race is really unique, right?
Yeah.
I know what I'm capable of.
Mm.
And I'd like to say I look back, I'd probably have to just give myself a little pat on the back saying, you've covered a decent distance, so do well done on that. But more often than not, I'm also thinking about where I want to be because I think I'm just scratching the surface. And I genuinely believe that there's a lot more that I will bring to the table, not just in the sports space, but in other areas as well. But so that happens. Should I be leveling up? Yes. But should I be leveling up because someone else otherwise will get there before? No, I'm not worried about that. They can do that as well. But because let me live my life. If I'm able to level up and live up to the expectations that I have of myself, to the potential that I believe I can bring to the
that's
table,
pretty much good.
I'll be very happy.
Have you started
Yeah.
to get recognized when you go to these stadiums? Do people recognize you? And
Yeah.
is that something that started to happen?
RCB fans, they're just
recognize?
brilliant, man. Like the love and support that you get from these guys are unbelievable. But yeah.
Does make you feel good?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, I'll be lying if I say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does because you just so much love and support that you get from these fans are brilliant. These guys are something else. You call them for a shoot, even on like a work day, they'll turn up with their jerseys. I'm like, how do you all do this? It's just unbelievable. 15 years without a title, but these guys show up every single goddamn year, day after day. Hats off to them.
Give me a milestone that you still haven't reached. Like a big one that you definitely want on your list that you want to check off at some point as a sports broadcaster. Something you feel will really define.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm very happy where I am right now. Every opportunity that comes my way is something that I'm grateful for. There's no one particular thing that I'm like, wow, I really need this. If this happens, then I'll be...
Like a particular tournament sitting
I've-
beside a certain someone.
I think I've done a few big tournaments as well. So, but having said that, I'd always love to do more and more. Of course, they'll continue. Like, I'd love to make my debut in cricket with Star Sports, like on international cricket. I'd love to enter the commentary box at some point for an international game. Of course, those things are there.
That'll be crazy.
Yeah. I'll be over the
Is
moon.
that a possibility?
I don't know. I genuinely believe there's no reason why it's not a possibility, right? Because the age-old saying of you need to be a former cricketer for you to be in the commentary box.
That's what came to my mind.
I'm a firm believer that can be challenged. And I've seen instances where there are other people slowly starting to do it as well. So I wouldn't rule that out for sure. Which is why I'm going to constantly knock until I open that door. Whether it's presenting for an international game at Star or whether it's being a commentator in the Combox for an international game, I'm going to go pursue that as well. But those are like... It's not the be all and end all. It's all just next steps in my area where I'd like to continue progressing. But I think in general in life, not just career, but in life, I think you're always constantly wanting to level up, right? So I'll play that game and whatever comes my way, I'm very happy for.
I have one very off question to ask before I ask one more important question and we close.
Damn. Okay. I don't know what the off question is.
No, like, what is the scene with this betting scene now? Like does IPL with everything that happened? I don't know if you know more or if you know less, but like even today, like whenever family gatherings happen, one of the main reasons is like all this is planned, boss. Like, why are you still watching it? What's the scene? You tell me,
brother. You're asking one of the most ardent, loyal fans of the game. I may be giving you a biased opinion.
No,
I
you
don't
give
know.
me whatever your opinion is on.
I don't think so. And I'm being very honest. I quietly get out of the room when these kind of discussions are happening, and I just make myself out. I don't know if it's the cricket fan in me or what that makes me not want to talk about these things. I don't know if it's happening or not. Truth be told, I genuinely don't have clarity or insight into whether something like that, those things are happening. I'd like to believe it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine. Now getting to the more important question. Yeah, man. I think I've liked pretty much everything that you've told. But maybe if there's like if there's a message that you want to give out to people in terms of following their dreams specifically and doing what they love, if you can end on that note, that will be nice. Like, what's that one thing that people can wake up and remind themselves with words, like, to live by?
Look, I'm still living my journey. I'm still trying to go after what I want to do. I don't know if I'm the best person giving the advice, but have I had a few little takeaways from my 5-year stint so far? I'd like to say yes. One of it being, we live in a world right now where, I'm going to continue saying this again, where the ball is in our court. Okay? Gone are the times when you would come out of college and you essentially had 3 avenues. You would go to your dad's or your mom's business. You would go and join a corporate job, or you would go and continue a profession, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or anything for that matter. So it was literally these 3 things. Fast forward 10-15 years, here we are in 2023. Absolute disruption in this space only because of the advent of social media. Look at the possibilities that we have today when we're coming out of school or college. You could be an editor, you could be a dancer, you could be a baker, you can be a lawyer, go to the army, join your dad or mom's business. Be a commentator, presenter, be a podcaster. Aditya sitting here, is a canine behaviorist. How brilliant is that? What I'm trying to say is the avenues and the opportunities are endless. If there is something that you want to do, nobody can tell you what you want to do. It's this little voice that's whispering to you every single day. It's not screaming out loud. Just listen to that little voice. Day in and day out, there's one thing that's speaking to you a little more than many other thoughts. Listen to that one thought. Once you have clarity on what that thought is, start putting yourself to the world outside and telling them what you can do. On Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all we can do is, whether it's you cooking a recipe, you put those dishes out there. You do it consistently, knowing, telling people you're very serious about this. The next thing you know, 5 people know about it, 10 people, 15, 100, 200, 1,000, 10,000 know about it. Sooner rather than later, that little passion of yours soon becomes your profession. Right? That's all I'm trying to say. The ball's in our court. We dictate which way we want to send that ball. And we're lucky to be living in this world where we create the opportunities. In those 3 avenues that I did mention back in the day, the only way you could get an opportunity was via an interview. Where you go for an interview, they will approve you, and then you will get that job. Here, look at how it's happening right now, where you put yourself out on social media already, brands are approaching you, or people are approaching you. It's just turned the other way around. That's only because of what the opportunities these platforms give us. Right? So we don't live in a time where we have to wait for something to happen. You create an opportunity, the world is your oyster.
Thanks, Navneeth. I think that was amazing. And man, what a journey I've had. It's really like to know that this is how it has happened. I think it's just another reason for us to keep going on the stuff that we want to achieve. So
we're all in this together.
Yeah.
I think, I'll be honest. The tough days are tough.
Yeah.
But they are absolutely no match to the good days. Because those good days, you will not want life to be any different. And so hang in there. Those good days will come. When the tough days are there, speak to people.
Yeah.
You're not alone in this journey. You're not alone in this. There are people who you can talk to, who will put an arm around your shoulder and make you feel better to get through those days. When the good days come,
Enjoy it.
make merry.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks for being so open about this, and thanks for coming over. First of all, I think
1 hour drive in the Bangalore traffic, my friend. It's not much.
I hope it's been worth it.
Absolutely. No, thanks a lot for having me, Adarsh, and kudos to you guys. For on a personal note, I hope you all continue to do a lot more episodes and get everyone that you all want to be. And whatever you guys have in store, I hope all of that works out for you guys as well. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Thanks, Navneeth. So another thing is we'd want to be in a place where we get you back, say once in a year at least.
Sure.
And I keep telling Aditya this, right? Like, people ask me, okay, you're on 45, you're on 46. So when is it going to stop? Like, is it 100? Do you want to make 100 and stop? It's not about stopping. This is something I just want to continue for the rest of my life. So I keep telling Aditya, 10 years into doing this, we should have...
Do the viewers, listeners know who Aditya is?
Yeah. Pretty much.
So he's been... Aditya's the name said in pretty much every episode.
Definitely. So I keep telling him that 10 years into this, we should have say 6-7 parts of every guest.
Yeah.
So that 10 years later, when everyone who's sat here, they look back, we've contributed in recording your journey.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a big journey ahead of you, and we'd want to be the people to cover it in the most authentic way. So that's what I want to leave you with, and we'll wait for you to come back here and speak a lot more.
Thanks a ton.
Many more things we could have covered, but it's okay. Next time.
Of course.
Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed this. This was episode number 47 of On a Personal Note with Adarsh Sakare, and see you on the next one. Thank you.